Greetings. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller Pilates YouTube live video out to you because you're watching, thank you, and meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, core new core students, and anyone interested in surviving as a Pilates instructor, because that's the filter through which I broadcast my view of Pilates and hopefully an awareness of the Michael Miller Pilates brand or outlook of Pilates can help you as a Pilates instructor survive among all the other instructors that are out there seeking to do the same thing. So usually I do this in Facebook, and it has its advantages and its drawbacks, and one of its drawbacks is that a friend of mine doesn't do Facebook, and so here I am again, second time in a row I think, on YouTube to make my recordings, my broadcasts available to you if you don't have access or choose to be part of that whole Facebook scene. Okay? And I need to be here so that you have access and so that others have access that aren't into the Facebook thing as well. And I need to be here because this file that's being recorded from the live interaction, I can download much more easily and do what I want with than I can in Facebook. Now maybe that's not true. I just haven't seen where they encourage that or how to do that. But in YouTube, very definitely, your content is more your own, under your own control. You can edit and take out the good parts and rearrange, all of that good stuff. That's why you have recordings. So, gosh. Over on Facebook, I usually type out a list of titles that are the subjects that came up in my notes while I was working out prior to the recording. And here it is Monday, and because I don't broadcast usually on Saturdays and Sundays, I do have some notes from those days when I worked out, and then today's again, so part of me is relieved that I'm not typing out all the titles before the recording starts. And maybe we'll find out that doesn't give me a chance to write through the topics one more time in the order that I'm presenting them to hopefully reinforce the actual live event where it's familiar at least once or twice by its organization. So, number one in my titles that you haven't ever seen and that may never get written down. I might write them out for the link to this broadcast in Facebook when I post to Facebook, but maybe not, and maybe that's unnecessary. Or last night was the Golden Globe Awards, Hollywood Foreign Press, and the message that I heard especially was that it's important to speak out your truth to power. That's what that is. That's a wave. Right there, that's a wave. I've been playing with where I want my core news to be. I need another one. Wouldn't you like to have one of these just printed out at your local FedEx store that you could go pick up? We'll try it this way. You see, maybe see that whole thing is a picture of of a surfer. I'm not sure you can make that out. But I'm trying to cut down the glare on the camera. From the Golden Globes last night. What I heard was to speak your truth. Speak your truth. And here I am with you, in my mind and in my way of looking at things, getting to do just that. I am speaking my truth. It doesn't have to be your truth. It doesn't have to be everybody's truth. It's just the truth that comes out of me that you can evaluate on your own. One of the big things lately about my truth is that this area of the body, the hips, literally the hips make a grip that it stabilizes itself from, right? This whole thing is a rotation, a grip, and a spiraling in of the muscular effort. It's a grip, get over it. It has been said a few times by me lately. Just to point out the fact, to me, the fact that the body accomplishes the physics. And by accomplishes, I mean that the body does what it can do in itself, muscularly, within the frame and the structure, the wholeness of a human body does what it can to move through space, and in doing so, accomplishes the physics of that movement. I know that sounds way abstract. So the core is a grip at the hips. And you would think, yeah, here it is. This is the anatomy coloring book, right? And see here, this is a profile view of the spine. See here, that whole orientation of the spine is to facilitate the engagement of a rotational control at the hips, a grip at the hips. And the core that people use so loosely and so unknowingly refers to a grip. It's a condition. I've said that before. You've heard that, right? Maybe not if you're part of my YouTube audience. But the core is a condition, and the condition is a grip. And this is a squeeze, flat fingertips against the palm. That's a squeeze. But this enters into a grip when the fingers curl around and in and spiral in. The core is a grip at the hips. Get over it and make use of it. Because, why? Because from my point of view, and maybe it's only my point of view, I'm just pointing to the fact of the physics that the biology is accomplishing and how it's doing that. As soon as you can introduce to someone the idea of, here's a line running through my arms, can you see that line that my arms make? And can you see how it rotates one direction or the other? So this is rotation. Can you see how if it rotates in opposite directions, that's called torsion? But for now, all we care about is rotation, and that the same kind of rotation that's happening along that line is also happening at the ears, and that the opposition of rotation between those axes creates core new tension. And that's my truth. You know, And I would wish that what I feel is my truth, you also see the same way. But maybe not. And that may be willful or just not connected to it. And see, it doesn't matter. That's what's great about broadcasting especially, is that you get to broadcast your truth. I get to broadcast my truth. And to the extent that I get to do it without rebuff or reprimand or challenge or nuance or interruption, it's on me to do the best job I can broadcasting my truth. And so really, if you haven't heard it yet, you have to understand that here at the hips, the anatomy of the hips is built to establish a grip. And that grip is the core, and that grip is the powerhouse. Part of me wants to include the whole trunk in the powerhouse, but really, from the roots of what it means and from what's meant to be referred to as the powerhouse, this is the powerhouse, the grip at the hips. According to the Michael Miller Pilates brand of Pilates. And so another thing I keep reminding myself is that I'm making this for you who's watching, primarily meant for you who are licensed affiliates. And I can't appreciate enough the licensed affiliates that I have and how long I've had them for, because for whatever reason they pay a license fee to affiliate officially. That was the message in my note, is that the Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate shows that they know. Now, many of my students have decided not really to show what they know and hold it as a strategic insight that they don't want to cause isolation from revealing. How's that for you? Follow that? So number one was speak my truth, and here I am getting to do that. I'm so grateful, and the fact that you're watching deepens the imprint of the reality of my energy that comes out in this broadcast. And then number three, usually I go through and hold up numbers for the titles that are already listed on the recording I'm making in Facebook. And number three is an inconvenient truth about Pilates. So, and we're talking about speak your truth, and the truth about the core is that it's a grip, and an inconvenient truth about Pilates is not only that the core, maybe that doesn't even have anything to do with Pilates. An inconvenient truth about Pilates that has nothing to do with Cornu, really, is that it has an essence of its own, way before Cornu or me or anybody. In Joe's own lifetime, his book states his message, and you can get to an experience directly from that material that you can interpret ideally, and Michael Miller Pilates tries to interpret it ideally based within the reality of science and include physics and not just consider biology. Right? It's important because it's about survival. So number three, and I won't belabor it because you've heard it too many times before, but really, for a Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate, you know about the inconvenient truth about Pilates is that it's not just some heritage of interpretation that you get to add your uniqueness to. It has an essence of its own, a target of its own, a way to hit the target of its own, an organization that purely reflects the conditioning a body would do ideally in the physics that it finds itself in. So it's fundamental in its expression as choreography, aiming for a particular purpose in each of the exercises, and in an experience and doing all of the movement. It's like I don't even want to separate exercises apart from one another, because really you could say the one long choreography is one exercise, and there are just different parts to it in performing the whole thing. See? Depends on how you want to wrap a border or how you want to make a grouping, because definitely Pilates is the whole choreography and flowing through it rather than pulling it apart and talking about it piece at a time. And so I could go on forever and ever, but I think I speak too long, so I'm trying to compress my message into a shorter amount of time, even though it's such a privilege to have so much time to record and to speak your truth, right? So I encourage you, whatever you're interested in, to broadcast your truth with discretion. I think you can do that without hurting anybody else's feelings, or at least try to, right? And so that brings me to number 4, which my original title out of my thinking was, or pondering, was Ignorant Pilates. And ignorant has a negative overtone to it, when really ignorance is just not knowing, right? It's not being stupid, it's just being ignorant. So stupid, pardon me if the word offends, but to me, the difference between stupid and ignorant is that stupid may have a comment or an inflection on how capable a person is in understanding or learning, but ignorant is just not knowing. You're ignorant of facts, or ignorant of sensations, but you just have no familiarity with something. And in that regard, I came to a different word, and maybe a softer, and it's my number 4, which is clueless Pilates, right? Now, I don't mean to ruffle feathers, but everyone seeks to speak their truth. And I encourage everyone to do that. And the thing that happens is, in our experience, we have different experiences. And so because of different experiences or approaches or takes on Pilates or classes we took or people we met or books we read, right? All of that builds differentiation in our point of view of Pilates. If you're a Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate, you have a right to actually post an image of Cornu on your website. Now, that may not mean anything to you, but what that means to me is that you hold a banner out saying that you show you know. And so we're going to show you know about what? You show you know about that point of view of Pilates that considers there to be an ideal within Joe's original work, that aims for the experience of complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit, that understands how important uniform engagement is to get the promised uniform development. Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate is way ahead of the curve in understanding when locked knees and pointed toes are called for, and when Unlock knees and endpoint of tension at metatarsals is called for. As a Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate, you acutely know what the target of the method is by Joe's own name for it, which is control, because he named it contrology, right? There's so many of your issues or questions about which way to do something, and all of the intellect raging to have their way be the right way. That's the way the mind works. Stay connected to what you are as a Pilates instructor, and that the target is control. I like the way that gives you the most control the soonest, and then make discernment from that control, rather than strive to get control of something you have no sensational interaction with. I'm talking about short spine versus tucking and controlling the rotational axis at the hips, and when you work with a person developing their core. So the core. So this is a 1-2, because it's like, what would I do if I had the opportunity to work with two famous people that were working out together as a couple? Because I read about two famous people working out together as a couple. And as a Pilates instructor, wanting to know how I would survive in that arena, for one thing, as a Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate, you have proof that you already know about this ideal within the original work. And maybe you don't need that, and I'm sure that who's ever teaching them doesn't need that. But in the instructor's commentary, and I'm mixing two subjects, I'm sorry. On another famous person, the instructor is quoted as saying that it's an incredibly strong workout based on core strength, core stability, and core control. All of those are great things. You could have just left out those strength, stability, or left out the word control. No, I'm saying it wrong again. You could have left out the word core, but instead use core and define three things toward a core that, in general, out there in the blue pill Pilates world, the core is just some mass, some muscles, some pelvic girdle. Because why? Because in the world that a Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliate lives in, to me, well, maybe this will be different when you hear this, so I shouldn't lock this in time. Because somewhere along the way, if you ask me, the truth of the hips being a grip at the hips, that the core being a grip at the hips, will just be obvious because of core nutension and because of the way it integrates into the pursuit of Pilates. As my licensed affiliate in Billings, Montana, Michelle Berger, and guess what her name of her studio is? I didn't choose it. Pure Pilates, right? And what I'm so thrilled about is that she's an affiliate. She says she delivers Pure Pilates, and because she's an affiliate, somebody might actually take that to mean that she understands the ideal within Joe's original work. And beyond that, the biodynamics of core nutention. Oh yes, and then, okay, so there's the overuse of the word core without, to me, a comprehension of what the core means, that you as a Michael Miller, you, for what you know now, whether you're an MMPLA or not, Michael Miller Pilates License Affiliate, right, is that you understand that the core is a grip at the hips. And in understanding that, know how to teach toward that in your cueing, meaning squeeze, inhale, curl around your ears to lift your head, stop, open your mouth, press out your heels, squeeze your inner thighs together to cause your exhale coming up in that effort, right? That's the point being, the squeeze of your legs together to cause your exhale is the fundamental engagement of making the grip at the hips. And when you start creating endpoints of tension out at the ankles so that you can push out your heels, as I instructed in the roll-up, right? Pilates can be anything you want. Make up anything you want. It is already. And that's the first wave, is the Pilates, the tsunami of Pilates passion. And that presses everyone, the whole culture, to higher ground. And part of seeking higher ground will be to understand it better, to do it better, to gain some kind of distinction from the obliteration of whatever Pilates was into the 10,000 things it has become, mine included, everything. So, number 4, I said, was ignorant Pilates or clueless Pilates. And to the extent that you understand what I'm talking about and can teach toward it sensationally, right? Your ability, okay, this takes you to offer with confidence a superior product to whomever comes before you and is lucky enough to get a lesson with you is what matters. And so, coming back to my original thing about clueless Pilates and what was 5, if I were in a situation where I had a lesson with 2 very famous people that were doing Pilates together, I certainly would want them to have so much fun they would want to come back. And that would be the most important thing, because no matter how much I would want to share my truth with them, if all I have is got my finger on the mic where all I'm doing is talking, nobody wants that. And if I can deliver an experience that is totally fun, you know, they are jazzed for when they come back. That's all I'm after as a Pilates instructor. Because if they don't have fun, they're not coming back. And if they don't come back, that will have been my only chance to make an impression. But there's the bite, see, then to what extent do you want to make an impression if it's the only chance you have? To that end, or the impression that I would make, or the suggestion that I would make, is I would want to try to point out to them how important their contribution to doing Pilates could make to everyone else period, I guess, to everyone else. Now, granted, you could just say, okay, it's enough that they're famous and everybody knows they're doing Pilates, right? But if I were the instructor, what I would be teaching them, and I probably wouldn't even tell them why, but I would be teaching the mat work. I would be teaching them both how to do the mat together. And then I would teach them how one to do the mat while the other made observation, and then the other do the mat while the other did observation, right? But mostly I would want them aware that it's a sequence, the roots of it are, I mean, you can go play on the reformer and the caddy and the chair and the pedipole and bands and barrels and whatever else. But I'm a Pilates instructor. All I want to do is empower them to find the experience for themselves so they can show others. And see, that comes to the point. If you can show somebody, a couple like that, how to actually do the mat and be in pattern and be in a dynamic flow and see the tension that it's meant to be expressed in, they would make $1 million or much more, I'm sure, just in the sense that everybody would want to see them doing it because they're famous. That's why I would say, what would I teach to a famous couple? I would train them to do the mat together. It's such a rush when it's more than one person. You know this, right? I mean, when you get 20 or 30 or 120 people all moving in the same breath almost, right? It gets very elevated in the experience. And we've talked about that before, and not losing the moment by feeling so naked in it as an instructor. So I think it's human nature for all of us to just pursue what our joy is, right? And then to make of our joy what we can, and hopefully, if we start making a living off of it, stay connected to the income stream that matters if Pilates matters. Because I think a lot of people interested in Pilates have come there out of interest of some sort, and then their interest moved on to some other thing. And for the most part, I'm trying to stay focused on to survive as a Pilates instructor. I think would be much easier to do than surviving as a studio owner. Maybe that's not true. But my number 5 in my titles. My number 5 in my titles. Nobody wants Pilates to be more than what they want it to be. Oh, I said it wrong. Nobody wants Pilates to be more than what they make of it. That's how it came to me, right? And it's understandable because it lets you make of it whatever you want, right? Even if you're a governing body, it keeps you in power because it's a subjective call, and the governing body itself doesn't acknowledge the ideal within the original work. Pick any one of them. It doesn't matter. On any continent. Because when it comes to survival, everyone seeks to maintain their advantage and expand it. An advantage might be considered income stream, right? So I perhaps have no clue about what it takes. But I would certainly hope that in your quiver of arrows, your backpack of what you know about Pilates, in your body of knowledge, all of you that makes you the unique, irreplaceable instructor in the moment. Remember that nobody, when I'm saying number 5 again, everybody wants Pilates to be whatever they make of it. And that's fine and dandy, and we're all that way. Easily you could say, well, Michael, you're just casting your view of Pilates over what is already there. And I'd say, yeah, that's true. That's true. This is part 2 of the previous broadcast. And I was on a roll. Mostly about how likely you are to survive as a Pilates instructor. If you understand the fact of the physics that the core is a grip at the hips. And why that is because you can then teach toward that to make it a bigger, deeper impact than if you ignore that reality and just do your own thing. And so I finished at number 5, which was nobody wants Pilates to be more than they make of it, and that's okay. The broadcast is about truth and stating your truth, and at the core is a grip at the hips, and that whatever somebody wants to make of Pilates it's up to them, because it's this heritage that really is artificially controlled and legitimized through no understanding of what it is. What matters to me, for you as a Pilates instructor, is that you know how to make of it what it is, so that you can not only make your celebrity couple really happy and working out, but you could be training them in the actually purest part of the expression and the benefit it gives of the method, doing the mat together. And in so training them, it's just like they're coming to a choreographer, which they are, to work on a very specific choreography that they can then go do themselves and wrap songs around if they want, and of course commercialize, but to the extent that they actually show Joe's exercises in Joe's order, in pace and tempo and tension, that would be hard to stay the instructor and just be hanging way back on the back wall in my presence and just cueing toward as much sensation as possible to put them in control of the movement that they're doing. Right? All right, so YouTube gives me different colors for, I think, the speed at which I'm recording, which is fascinating. I'm not that familiar with this. Number 6 on this list of broadcast subjects was, and it's not up for me to convince you. I'm just getting, gratefully so, to speak my truth here and now. And if and when you catch up to this recording and it resonates with you, I'm very happy that it does, because that resonance builds for all of us. Do I have to add throughout time on that? My 7 was more about licensed affiliates. You know, it takes Pilates someplace new. This point of view, Michael Miller Pilates. It's, I think, a unique point of view. And if it's not unique, please, let me know who else is out there, because I'll bet that if I'm not unique in what I'm saying, we both agree on an awful lot, right? Because when you head to higher ground, there's usually a peak to that mountain. And for me, that peak is an ideal that translates directly into an experience. And it's magical as an instructor to be so blessed and honored to provide cueing to allow a person to reach for that experience. What experience am I talking about? Complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. Now, Michael Miller Pilates refines that or says, well, the spirit, right, we know is the observer in physics. Got somebody that's very mindful, just send them off to Google the observer in quantum physics. Okay? And all of that helps legitimize that which isn't thinking that needs to be present in order to get the experience of doing Pilates. See? If Joe had said contrology is complete coordination of body, mind, body and mind, or body, mind, and more mind, I usually say, he didn't write that. He wrote contrology is the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And now, it's up to whomever you talk to and however you approach Pilates that definition takes on its own meaning, right? And my truth and my profession and my broadcast is that spirit is only that which is present when you watch something, when you concentrate on performing a particular way. You have to be connected to it in the moment to exert the control you're after. And so the spirit just means you have to be listening. Yeah, and listening is not thinking. And it's just as comfortable for me to divide the listener and the thinker into two different parts of the brain as it is to say that there's the brain and then there's this field that you connect into. Either way, it doesn't matter if you're aiming to be a Pilates instructor. And in the moment of the doing, you just know that whatever spirit is has to be part of this triumvirate of coordination, or Joe is just wasting words on the definition of his method he's taught his whole life. So Michael Miller Pilates, in looking at the method, seeking to see an ideal in Joe's original work, goes beyond the norm now. That's why I'm the Copernicus, Bruce Lee, Einstein of Pilates, because Michael Miller Pilates takes Pilates someplace new. That's my truth of it. And this new place is an idealized understanding of, a sense of, the ideal within Joe's original work. That everything that comes off of that is fine and dandy, but it's the original essence in and of itself that is what it is and inspires everything else that comes after. If you were an artist, you made a painting, and you wouldn't come along and take off the frame and add to his painting, because if he'd have been there, he'd have done it too. I see my view of Pilates is a message straight from Joe to me. And I appreciate all of the people that I've ever known. Some of those have known and worked with Joe personally, and others who haven't, but all of whom have only... Okay, so this is the frame of your digital camera, okay? And when you load a picture into that frame, it's fuzzy at first. To me, that's what is apparent in Joseph Pilates' original work. When you add Michael Miller Pilates to Joe's original work, it's like adding info to that image, and it doesn't change anything, it just clarifies what was there in the first place. So that's my contribution to the Pilates community, is my ideal view of it. And then, in a way, separate and apart from that, and more distinctively mine, is this core, this core new tension that exists within the body that we use to move through space, and comes in very handy when in the pursuit of doing Pilates, right? Well, why is that, you might say? Because when you know how to make endpoints of tension, even down at your feet, at the metatarsals, the balls of your feet, takes a paragraph to say in French. So I moved to metatarsals, and I encourage you to do so too. Because metatarsals, as the term that it is, it's anatomical, but metatarsals is the same word everywhere in the world. In any language in the world, metatarsals refers to the ball of the foot, the knuckles, and to me, the metatarsals are an endpoint of rotation that we can establish control of. It's a place in the body that we can establish a rotation. And as such, play off tension from that rotation to other parts of the body. Number 8. Number 8. How about that, huh? Number 8. Image recognition will play havoc with that, won't it? But the title that came out of me while I was working out is reaching past what you are doing or doing the one you're in. Reaching past what you are doing or doing the one you're in. And so, and I'm talking about now an exercise. And I'm talking about a Pilates exercise because I'm talking about the sequence that you go through in doing the Pilates choreography. And in doing that sequence, are you doing the exercise that you're in, or are you already reaching past that exercise to do the next one? And so, see, this is where you talk about survival and doing Pilates, and that doing Pilates is the choreography, and in doing the choreography, you have to be familiar with it, and in being familiar with it, it becomes a matter of, are you doing the exercise that you're in, or are you really just, have you already moved past? And so in terms of pursuing the sequence, right, I would teach anyone pursuing the performance of the mat to, well, if you're standing up about to do the mat, as an instructor, I would say, all right, now here you are standing before we do the mat. And the end of the mat is this position right here, this place in space for you standing up, right? So as you go through the choreography, especially when you get challenged in certain places, see the end in mind and know that there is an end that you're headed towards and that you will get to, right? All of that is part of the benefit of doing a routine and being familiar with it because of that. Then I would say, okay, what's next? And it can be hundreds or it can be footwork depending upon how you start the mat. But if it's just pure the hundreds, right? Okay, we do the hundreds. Now there you are doing hundreds, and you're getting it going, and you're turning on muscle, and you're engaging things, and listening to where you are, and doing all of that. But in the beginning of that, here I am doing hundreds, ask yourself, what comes next? where you can say, well, that's the roll-up. Okay? So you call to mind, in your anticipation of the future, what comes next in your performance of the sequence. Having done that, it allows you, I think, to dive deep into every exercise, to pour all of your focus and concentration and your observation and your spirit into the performance of that exercise. And that to the extent you disappear into that effort, to the extent that you accomplish what you're after. You have to catch up with where you were before you made the dive. Meaning when you surface, right? You were so focused, you come up with a fresh state of mind because you can't remember where you were. How's that? You were so lost in the moment that keeping track of anything other than the moment sort of went by the wayside, right? That's why, as Yoda, pointing to a student in their cave, listening to their sensation, they get lost in that. It's so absorbing. The complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit is a state of being in the body, in the moment of the doing. Knowing that you have to be familiar with the pattern in order to press the flow, and that you have to press the flow to find the fusion. So a lot of this talk has existed on my Facebook broadcast, and is somewhere in some of the previous ones that all stack up with no explanation and no delineation. For now, I'm happy that we're recording. I'm happy that I'm getting to speak my truth. And I'm blessed that the hardware is working and that somewhere in time, you and I have connected on this subject that I'm passionate about. And so whereas 8 is, as an instructor, empowering your students to know how to make their mat flow more seamlessly by training them to anticipate what's next. So there's the key part. Training them to anticipate. Right? Then, in knowing what comes next, to dive deep so that when they come back up, hopefully, when they go to recover what's next, their body will tell them because there'll be a feeling for it, which is really pretty cool when you know it that well. And if not that well, maybe it stands to come to mind because you had brought it to mind before you made your dive. Right? So it's in that anticipation that we gain an edge in our performance, and in the depth we get it, we give it, and the depth of the reward that comes from it. That Pilates, that first wave of Pilates passion may not have even begun to crest yet, which is sort of scary to think about. But Michael Miller Pilates gives you a surfboard that's just the length you need and just the width you need to be able to surf on that wave without getting caught up in it, and to know what distinguishes you from all the 10,000 other things. I've said in the past, here's what I'm selling. What am I selling? I have one ending thing, but I want to be a licensed affiliate. Become one. Show that you know. Someday it may matter. And hopefully it matters before whomever you're also in competition with for the same income stream claims they're the oldest licensed affiliate in your area. Just saying, it happens. Claim the ground before someone else claims it ahead of you. And that'll probably be much easier to get along with than my executor. On Zazzle.com, Zazzle.com, you can get t-shirts. Order them 2 sizes larger than you think. Just saying. And yet you can get Cornu delivered to you with a t-shirt with Cornu on it. And you can also get mugs and postcards, greeting cards that have my trademark license on it stuff, but also that's on the back of the card, like any card would have, but you can actually custom imprint cards that are on my Zazzle.com. And then magnets and stickers. Actually, it's just a stickers thing. Cornu and a sticker. You know, for $100 you could have a lot of these as well. They don't have anything on the back, and people say, "Oh, I should have your name on there or something." It's like, no. The sticker is the message for me. Michael Miller, what matters most for Michael Miller in making my witness is making what is unique to me more apparent, and that is Cornu tension. Magnets. You have a magnet on your refrigerator, don't you? Just like this. And when you moved, you took the magnet with you, didn't you? All right. So in this whole anticipation thing, I'm anticipating supporting myself off of the t-shirt that you get from me. So please order a t-shirt. Just like teaching the famous couple, if you at least show, if you have a I alienated a person. I wish I hadn't. When they didn't realize that this image was more than just a pretty picture. So number nine. Exhale to prepare. I've said more than once, and it comes as the last title or subject in my broadcast today about this anticipation thing. And exhale to prepare is totally something to do in anticipation of something else. And exhale to prepare doesn't really address what you're preparing for. And in this case, and in this instance, the anticipation that sort of naturally comes after exhale to prepare, you prepare for the inhalation, right? And in preparing for the inhalation, the way you treat your exhale can determine the response you get from your effort. The effort is exhaling. The way you do it and how you do it, and the fact that you delay the inhale in anticipation of and provoking a body response, biological if you will, but the body's response to not having air is to want some and to breathe in. and in establishing or in connecting to instinctual inspiration, it makes your movement that much more organic. And the way you initiated, that much more targeted, that much more mindful, right? So, I'm not sure how this goes on YouTube. Ideally, you loved what you heard and you look past all these critical comments about me and my appearance and any of that, and are at least interested enough in the subject matter that I'm broadcasting about that something in the broadcast made sense. Not only intellectually, but sensationally. Okay? Alright. So, those are all my notes. Life can't live forever. Which I think is I don't know what to make of that, but it's true. And it's a play on words. Like, live while you can, because life doesn't live forever. And then read between the lines, see behind the curtain, add two and two, direct your thinking, Geist.